morning, Steve.
Good morning, Bimal.
I'm really blessed to have got this opportunity to interact with you today.
Oh, thank you.
I don't think anybody is more embedded in the AEC industry than you are. For last 45 years, you have observed the industry from all sides of the table. We'd love to hear from you that in the last 45 years, how has the work processes and technology adoption changed in the industry?
You're right, I have been doing this for many decades now, and I started drafting in an architectural firm using lead on Mylar and watched the advent of CAD. And at the time CAD came in, I thought it was magic. I thought it was absolutely science fiction magic, that you could move lines on a screen and you could push a button and some machine over there with all kinds of colored pens made perfect line weight drawings for you. I was astounded. I couldn't get enough of it. I thought it was fantastic. And if you made one change, it rippled through. It had everything going for it. And as is so often the case, you tend to think, well, this is as good as it'll ever get. It can't get any better than that. It is so much better than what we used to do. Yes, now we finally reached the future, as opposed to realizing that with so many other things, and it will continue to be in way generations far after you and me, it is just an ongoing process of improvement. Because indeed, I also was at my architectural firm when we were asked by the folks at Bentley to try this thing called object-oriented design. BIM didn't even have a name at the time. That was borrowed really from manufacturing, where it had become quite standard that you assembled an airplane of intelligent objects virtually and tested it virtually instead of having to build a prototype physically and keep changing it constantly. That's super expensive and took forever. Oh, they could design it virtually, and ships and cars and everything else. Well, then it got introduced into this industry. Bentley bought a company in England to do that, and that was even before Autodesk bought Revit, right, which was Charles River software. When those guys got involved, Autodesk got involved and bought the Charles River software and named it Revit and came up with BIM, and that really began to popularize that idea. That gave it, because object-oriented design doesn't really flow off of the, what would that even be, OOD or something, like just no. And they came up with that brilliant acronymizable phrase, building information modeling, BIM, right, great. And then when we first used the one from Bentley, we had to build our own content, but we did see, oh my gosh, this is like so cool, because that object actually has all the information we've embedded in it about itself, as opposed to, oh no, it's an XREF, you got to go over to this drawing, then you got to go over to that elevation, you got to go over to that detail, you got to look at the spec here. Oh, it's all there. You could see the promise of that, but you knew it needed to be developed, right? And so in the subsequent time, it continued to get developed. And it has followed a path I think is similar to the way many of the technologies have followed. Is it began with design, because design is the first thing that happens. So let's focus on design, right? And it was, all right, back in the CAD days, can we get architects to stop drawing things on paper and actually start using this thing called CAD? All right, and so yes, we did. And then contractors started picking that up, and trade contractors started picking that up, and it would work its way down. And building product manufacturers had to have CAD details. CAD details, right? We need CAD details, so we can just pull in and put in, right?
So that you can use them easily,
yes,
right?
Right, and so it flowed that way, right? And owners weren't terribly involved, because at the end of the day, they still got drawings that they were used to getting. They didn't know whether they were drawn by a human being, a machine, a baboon. They didn't care. They got the drawings that they were looking for. Then as BIM came in, it was the same thing. It's like, all right, let's get architects to stop using CAD, which we've been selling them for years, and oh yeah, well, forget about that. No, you got to get this new thing, BIM. And then that began to work its way right down chronologically through the chain. I think when someone finally writes kind of the macro history of all of this, it's the moment that Autodesk acquired Navisworks.
I think that was
That a contractor could see he could do all that incredibly complicated coordination virtually. They went, oh my God, what else can this thing do? What's it called again? BIM? Oh man. And they basically just booted the architects out of the driver's seat in the BIM bus and have just taken over innovation in the industry and have driven it into, it's really powered prefabrication, as you well know, at the trade contractor level. It has had a profound impact on bringing efficiency and reducing uncertainties through that process of project delivery. It also then began that you were now giving, or had the opportunity to give owners a digital version of their building, as well as the same old stack of paper that they always got from you. I think that has been the slower part of the industry to come into a more digital approach to facilities and assets. Because so much of their activity was built on working off of paper. They were used to doing it, right? And then a few owners began to see, and what I saw is it started with some of the healthcare systems like Sutter Health. They got why they wanted to mandate BIM on their projects, and they got why they wanted digital deliverables, because they could see how they could then manage their portfolio of facilities more efficiently if they actually had it in a digital process. But that's been a slow process to change. But I think over the last, from what I see, because I do research on every type of player all around the world in terms of where they are in their digital transformation. And it's really been the last 5 or 6 years that we've seen this incredible surgence now of owner interest. It began, as is appropriately so, with project delivery in terms of, all right, if all you folks working for me are all using this thing called BIM, I'm going to tell you what the digital deliverables are going to be. I'm going to set the process. Penn State developed the BIM execution plan. That made it easy to write the script for exactly how people are going to communicate with each other digitally at what point. The development of the level of development, the LOD, all these things began to come in to support that, right, to now give definition to some of these things. Unfortunately, there really isn't very much, there's no government agency there to help us in the United States, so it's all ground up and volunteer efforts by industry organizations and a lot of experimentation and devoted experimentation by firms realizing that they're going to have to sort of plow the field for the first time and figure these things out, but God bless them, they were all doing it really actively. To get to the point where now owners were beginning to define what it is you're going to do digitally and put it in your contracts. It wasn't voluntary. Up until that point, it was all voluntary. There was a thing called a BIM project, and there was stuff called, well, that's not a BIM project, or these 3 players are modeling, but then they're basically just dumbing it down to PDFs and giving it to everybody else. So it was creating what I like to call these silos of excellence, right? This one trade contractor was doing this great work, but then they just dumbed it down and gave it to other people.
So Steve, you're absolutely right.